So, Thailand has made this huge, massive promise to the world on climate change. We're talking about a plan that would put it on one of the most ambitious economic transformation journeys in the entire region.
And what is that promise? Well, the headline goal, the big number everyone's talking about, is achieving carbon neutrality by the year 2050. That is a really bold statement of intent.
But that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to set a target way off in the future, but it's a completely different challenge to actually rewire an entire country's economy to hit it. So in this explainer, we're going to break down Thailand's plan, the massive challenges it faces, and what's actually happening right now. All right, so before we get into the how, we've got to understand the what. We need to know exactly where the finish line is in this race against climate change. So let's look at the specific goals Thailand has set for itself.
You can see this isn't all happening at once. It's laid out in stages. The first big milestone is 2030, with a goal to slash greenhouse gas emissions by 30 to 40%. Then comes the really big one in 2050, carbon neutrality. And the ultimate goal, the final finish line, is all the way out in 2065, achieving net zero across all greenhouse gases. Now, this is super important because you hear these terms thrown around a lot, and they are not the same thing. Carbon neutral just focuses on balancing carbon dioxide, CO2. Net zero is the much bigger, much harder challenge. That means balancing all the greenhouse gases, stuff like methane too, with ways to remove them from the atmosphere. It is a much, much higher bar to clear.
So you've got these massive, world-changing goals. How on earth do you even begin to tackle them? Well, let's get into the official strategy, the 8-point green playbook. And wow, this is the whole shebang. It's a master plan that touches pretty much every part of the economy. You've got a huge expansion in renewable energy, you've got making everything more electric and efficient, and a big push for electric vehicles. But it also includes futuristic-sounding tech, like carbon capture, managing forest spare, and then the really crucial government stuff, new policies, putting a price on carbon, investing in new ideas, and yep, even encouraging all of us to change our behavior. And let's just zoom in on one of these points to make it real. Take a look at this number. This is one of the plan's most concrete targets. It's called the 30-30 policy. And the goal is simple. 30% of all cars made in Thailand will be electric by 2030. That's a really clear and aggressive goal to transform a major industry. But maybe the single biggest, most monumental shift has to happen right here, in energy. You can see on this chart, right now, Thailand is super dependent on natural gas. The goal is a complete flip, a total pivot, to make renewables the main source of power. This isn't just a small tweak, it's a fundamental reinvention of the country's energy system. Now, a big part of the long-term plan is banking on this. Carbon capture, or CCUS. So what is it? Well, it's basically a set of technologies designed to literally grab CO2 emissions from places like power plants before they get into the atmosphere, and then stick them somewhere safe, usually underground. It's seen as a critical tool for those heavy industries that are just really, really hard to clean up otherwise. So you look at all that, this huge, detailed playbook, and you have to ask the really tough question. With a plan this ambitious, is any of this even possible? And this is where things get really, really tough. We're moving from the plan on paper to the race against reality. Let's dig into the major hurdles that are standing in the way. Okay, so let's be real. This plan is up against some major roadblocks. First, as this table shows, it's betting big on tech, like CCUS, which is still super expensive and not quite ready for prime time. Second, the amount of money needed is just astronomical to rebuild the power grid, to fund all this clean tech. Third, it depends a lot on forests to soak up carbon. But what if those forests can't absorb as much as we think? And finally, the big one. The actual law to enforce all this, the Climate Change Act, hasn't even been passed yet. And if you want a number to wrap your head around just how massive this economic challenge is, here you go. One study found that hitting the most ambitious net zero target could cost the equivalent of 8.5% of Thailand's entire GDP in the year 2050. I mean, that's a staggering figure. It represents a huge chunk of the whole economy, and it could mean higher costs for absolutely everything. And this quote from the research really just nails the problem, doesn't it? So much of the plan hinges on technologies that are either expensive or still emerging. That means getting the policy perfect, finding all the money, and managing all the risk becomes absolutely essential to have any shot at success.
Okay, so after all those massive hurdles, you might be thinking this whole thing is just a pipe dream, right? Well, not exactly. The journey has already begun. Let's take a look at what's happening on the ground right now.
Believe it or not, the wheels are already turning. That huge climate change bill we talked about, the one that's the legal backbone for everything, it's making its way through Parliament. Things like a national carbon tax are being seriously debated. And that massive pivot in the power sector, well, the planning and the early investments for that have already started. These are the real foundational first steps.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that this is a marathon, not a sprint. For sure. The first steps have definitely been taken, but there is a very, very long road ahead. Which leaves us with the one question that really matters. Thailand's climate quest has officially begun. The roadmap is one of the most ambitious in the world, but the ultimate test is still to come. Will this incredible plan survive its first contact with reality?